It's playoff time. Let's get it going, Sixers. Come on now. We win the finals. Let's go. Hello, folks. Today I'll be talking about my NBA playoff predictions for the 2021 NBA playoffs. So what I'm going to do here in this video is go by round one and go through every team of who's going to win and in how many games, and then go on to second round, third round, and the finals, and go through all that. So I'm going to start off in the Eastern Conference. In the first round of the Eastern Conference playoff side, I have the Philadelphia 76ers taking on the Washington Wizards. I see the Philadelphia 76ers crushing the Wizards in a sweep of 4 games. And the reasons why I picked the Philadelphia 76ers over the Wizards and in 4 games is because they've been rested, they are ready, Joel Embiid ready, they got Ben Simmons, they got Tobias Harris, they got a bunch of contributors, they got players off the bench, as I said, of contributors. They are ready for this playoffs, and they are going to go deep in this playoff run. And the Wizards are not going to be able to defeat the Sixers with Bradley Beal and Russell Westbrook. Wizards aren't going to have enough weapons to stop the Sixers, and that's how I see the Sixers beating the Washington Wizards in round one. The next match we have is the New York Knicks taking on the Atlanta Hawks. The New York Knicks have been on fire lately because of Julius Randle has been helping the Knicks make the playoffs for the first time since 2013. It's been a long time since the Knicks have made the playoffs. And Knicks fans, I know you're happy. I know you're happy. But I see the Hawks beating the Knicks. I'm just going to put it that way because the Hawks have a lot of contributors. I know the Knicks have contributors, but the Hawks have more contributors is what I'm seeing here. They have Collins, Trae Young, Bogan Bogdanovic. They have other guys, though, that are going to be contributors in helping Hawks beating the Knicks in 6 games. I think this is going to be a close series, but I see the Hawks beating them in 6 games. So moving on to the next round will be the Sixers and Hawks, and the teams that have been eliminated so far are the Pacers and Knicks. On to your third match in the first round for the Eastern Conference is the Milwaukee Bucks taking on the Miami Heat. I think this series is going to be tough for both teams. I think this will go into 6 games at least, with the Bucks taking it. I see that because of Giannis is probably going to show up right at the end, be clutch for the Bucks. But the Heat aren't done yet, though. They've shown up of proving that they're still in it, even though they haven't been looking good all year, despite making the finals last year and losing. They haven't been really the same teams they were last year, but they're showing up lately. And that's what you like to see about the Miami Heat, because this is the perfect time to get your team very fired up and get it going right in the playoffs. Because I see Jimmy Butler doing well for them, Bam Adebayo, other guys for the Heat. But with the Bucks, I see Giannis Antetokounmpo being unstoppable in Game 6 of that series. So I see the Bucks beating the Heat. Even though it's going to be a close series, I see the Bucks beating the Heat in that series. So the Bucks move on to the second round. And finally, your last match of the first round for the Eastern Conference is the Brooklyn Nets taking on the Boston Celtics. This is not a shocker. I see the Nets sweeping the Celtics because the Celtics don't have Jaylen Brown, who's out for the playoffs, and the Nets, they're just going to be unstoppable in the first round. I know that. They're not going to let the Celtics win a game in the series. So this is going to be an easy sweep for the Nets to take. On to the second round of the Eastern Conference is the Sixers taking on the Hawks, the Bucks taking on the Nets. So I'm going to go with the Sixers first to start off. I see the Sixers beating the Hawks in 5 games. I think the Sixers might have trouble on the road at least once, but they're going to be doing well against the Hawks because Joel Embiid, no one can stop Joel in the paint because Hawks really don't have anyone that can stop that huge guy. Ben Simmons is going to be a very good defensive guy. He's going to stop Trae Young. John Collins is going to be the only open guy, or Bogan Bogdanovic, if that's the case. Those guys, they might be open, but they might not shoot consistent. One of them might be, but the other one might not. But the Sixers have a good bench. They can rotate some couple guys. Doc Rivers is going to use his method of where he thinks guys should be playing or how long they should be out or be on the bench. Doc is going to know what he wants against the Hawks. And the Sixers did well against the Hawks in the regular season. So I see the Sixers beating the Hawks out and moving on to the Eastern Conference Finals for the first time in a while for the Sixers, because that's what they haven't done in this run of Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons era of not making it to the Eastern Conference Finals. All right, and then the other match is the Brooklyn Nets taking on the Milwaukee Bucks. I think this series will go to 7 games, but I see the Nets coming out of there just beating the Bucks because I don't think Giannis is gonna be able to hold up against KD, James Harden, Kyrie Irving, or other guys of the Nets. The Nets have more contributors and more helpful guys to have more playoff experience than the Bucks. I see the Nets beating the Bucks in 7 games. Even though it's going to be a close series, I see the Nets pulling out there and moving on to the Eastern Conference Finals against the Philadelphia 76ers. Then moving on to the Eastern Conference Finals is the Philadelphia 76ers and the Brooklyn Nets. What do I want to do here? I know this is going to go to 7 games. Do I want it to look like the Kawhi Leonard game-winning shots, or do I want to see my team actually go to the finals? Yeah, I'm going to let my team go to the finals. Sorry, Brooklyn, I'm not letting you do that. You're not ruining my team. So I see the Philadelphia 76ers beating the Brooklyn Nets in 7 games because Sixers are playing home. They are more healthy than the Brooklyn Nets. Joel Embiid is going to be dominant in the paint. Who can stop Joel Embiid is my question from the Brooklyn Nets. Who is going to go up against him? We have Ben Simmons to stop at least Kyrie Irving to stop him. So then you have to worry about KD and James Harden. KD might go on Joel Embiid. He might go on him, but we'll have to see in the series when that happens. So then it just leaves you James Harden open wide. But then you have Tobias Harris, who can just try and get up there. Even though Tobias Harris, he's all right on defense, but he's not like a #1 defensive player of the year like Ben Simmons is or Joel Embiid. So this game is going to go back and forth, I would just say, of like high-scoring games, at least over 110 points for each team, I would say, per game. Whoever has to win the series, I think you have to be consistent. You have to make less errors and attack your opponent's mistakes and have the last winning shot of the game for either team because it's going to be very close and it might be like the Kawhi Leonard shot that happened a few years ago where it's whoever gets the last shot or last chance at the ball win the game. So I see the Philadelphia 76ers winning this series in 7 games and moving on to the NBA Finals. Alrighty, so I just had the Sixers move on to the finals for the Eastern Conference. I'm now going to do the Western Conference playoff side. So in the first round of the Western Conference playoff side is the Utah Jazz take on the Memphis Grizzlies. I see the Utah Jazz defeat the Grizzlies in 4 games of a sweep because the Jazz are greater and better than the Grizzlies. Even though the Grizzlies beat Steph Curry and the Warriors, the Jazz are still a better team. Even with Donovan Mitchell not being 100%, I think Rudy Gobert is going to dominate in that series, and he's going to help the Jazz very much in helping them secure that playoff series win. And my second matchup for the Western Conference playoff side is the Phoenix Suns taking on the Los Angeles Lakers. I see the Phoenix Suns beating the Los Angeles Lakers because the Lakers, they barely escaped from the Warriors. Second, the Lakers are still not 100% healthy because LeBron is still dealing with his injury. Even though he's playing all good and all, but he's dealing with his injury, so he's not 100%. And the Lakers haven't been in the same selves as they were when they won the championship last year. And the Phoenix Suns have been a phenomenal year. Their coach, Monty Williams, just won Coach of the Year, former Sixer assistant coach. So congrats, Monty. Congrats. Devin Booker you got for the Phoenix Suns, Ayton you got for the Suns, and then you got Chris Paul, who's been a phenomenal guy. Ever since the Phoenix Suns trade for him, he's helped make that team so much better. And so I see the Phoenix Suns beating the Los Angeles Lakers in 6 games at least, because I know LeBron is going to make the series go tough, which he will. I'm seeing it at 6 games. 6 games. So I have the Phoenix Suns moving on. And my third matchup I have is the Denver Nuggets taking on the Portland Trail Blazers. I see the Portland Trail Blazers beating the Denver Nuggets in 6 games. A reason why I picked the Trail Blazers over the Nuggets is because the Nuggets aren't themselves really. They're not good in the playoffs. Trail Blazers, that's Dame time. Damian Lillard is phenomenal in the playoffs and he has game-buzzing shots. I see him upsetting the Denver Nuggets in the first round in 6 games. So I think Dame will help the Trailblazers take out the Nuggets and move on. So in my final match I have is the Los Angeles Clippers taking on Dallas Mavericks. I think this series is going to go very tough for each team, in which it's going to go 7 games. And I see the Mavericks just pulling it out of 7 games because I think Luka Doncic is going to be phenomenal in that series, while Paul George and Kawhi Leonard are also going to be phenomenal in that series. But when you looked at the regular season series against these 2 teams, the Mavericks kept beating Clippers by a lot, except for one game when it was kind of close, but they kept beating them every time Mavericks did. So I think the Mavericks own the Clippers and will beat the Clippers. But I think it's going to go in 7 games because I think the Clippers Clippers aren't done yet. They're going to try. So moving on to the second round of the Western Conference playoff side is Utah Jazz versus the Dallas Mavericks. I think the Dallas Mavericks will win this series because they got Luka Doncic, they got Kristaps Porzingis, they got more contributors than the Jazz, and the Jazz are still not 100% healthy, with Donovan Mitchell still being hurt, but we have to see what happens with him. Then you have Rudy Gobert, but Luka Doncic is going to beat Rudy out, and I think Luka is going to be overpowering that Jazz team and securing the Mavericks playoff series win. So I think the Mavericks will beat the Jazz in 6 games, because I think this will be a close series, but the Mavericks take the edge here and beat the Utah's Jazz out, since the Jazz are a little hurt, and the Mavericks are more healthier than the Jazz, I would say. And the last match of the second round is the Phoenix Suns taking on the Portland Trail Blazers. I see this series going to 6 games because Damian Lillard will put up a fight in the series to force it 6 games or 7 games, but I see it more 6 because I don't think he'll do it enough, and he's not going to win the series. So I have the Phoenix Suns winning this series because Phoenix Suns have been phenomenal this year, have one of the best records in the NBA, and you got Devin Booker, Ayton, and Paul in that whole trio for the Suns with their coach. And I think the Suns are going to be unstoppable, and Damian Lillard is not going to be enough to stop the Suns. So moving on to the Western Conference Finals is the Phoenix Suns facing the Dallas Mavericks. I see this series going to 6 games. It's going to be a close series, but not close enough for a 7 game. And I see the Phoenix Suns beating the Dallas Mavericks in 6 games because, as I said before, you have that trio of the Suns and their coach who's going to stop Luka Doncic because there's really no one else besides Luka and his contributors, which his contributors are very less than compared to the Phoenix Suns because the Phoenix Suns have more contributors. But Luka Doncic is not going to be enough, as I said before about Damian Lillard trying to stop him. Luka Doncic is not going to be enough to stop the Phoenix Suns. And that's going to be a problem for the Dallas Mavericks, in which I have them losing to the Phoenix Suns. Sorry, Mark Cuban, you're not going to get your another championship. So Phoenix Suns, I have them going to the finals to face on the Philadelphia 76ers. Alrighty, it's the finals time. We got the Philadelphia 76ers representing the Eastern Conference. We got the Phoenix Suns representing the Western Conference. Who's going to win? I see this series going in 6 games, and whoever has the home advantage is probably going to win this series. But I see the Philadelphia 76ers pulling it out and winning the NBA championship. And the reasons why I picked the Philadelphia 76ers, I'm not trying to be biased here, but the Sixers have Joel Embiid, and no one's going to really guard Joel Embiid besides DeAndre Ayton, but DeAndre Ayton is not going to be able to stop Joel Embiid. Devin Booker and Chris Paul you have, but Ben Simmons is going to guard one of them, so that eliminates another one. So then you have Devin Booker left, but then you have Tobias Harris, who I said before is a solid guy, and he's going to stop Booker in half that. Or you have Matisse Thybulle try and stop Booker, who Thybulle's a good defensive guy. That's what he's mainly used for. But the Sixers have more contributors, playoff experience, because the Phoenix Suns haven't made the playoffs since Steve Nash, the head coach of the Brooklyn Nets, played for the Suns and made the playoffs for them. They don't have the playoff experience. But what I see here is you have to be very offensive in this game. You cannot make mistakes in this series. But those are my predictions in this NBA playoffs. Let me know in the comments who you think is going to do well in the playoffs, who you think is not going to do well in the playoffs. Did you like my picks? Did you not like my picks? Let me know what you think is going to happen in the playoffs. And please leave a like on this video and hit that subscribe button, please, if you enjoy more content. But I see the Philadelphia 76ers become the NBA champions of the 2021 NBA playoffs. And this process worked out so much. I appreciate the trust the process. Trust the process? Trust the process. Let's go win that championship and get on Broad Street for that parade, Sixers. Let's go.